So you guys don't know it, but this box, it occupied half of my day trying to find this box. This is RO number 54. I skipped over this because when I called the customer, I didn't get a response. And then I called them again, the phone number come back disconnected. Well, I had that happen with like 4 or 5 repairs in a row. And so the customer finally reached out to me, what was it? It was a few days ago. And I said, yeah, I'll find it. So I went to digging. This thing has been sitting and waiting patiently for me to do this for quite some time. This is a Dominator box, I think. Hold on a second, let's read this. This box seems to be out of tune compared to the other boxes I place in line. I can put a Dominator Carl built in line with low reflect. This Dominator box has high reflect. I would like it to be as low a reflect as possible. I would like to expand on this view. If this was your box, would you? I don't really like the design of the circuit. The wires are a little small. Repair build like yours. I would like it durable and low reflect. I have keyed this more than not keyed this more than 4 or 5 times and have not touched anything on the inside. This is also a receiver. Oh no, silent key. I use see, here's your problem. I use 18 feet of coax from the radio to the amp. I know you said these boxes had certain lengths of coax to tune. Yeah, that's correct. I'm working Monday through Friday. Okay. So Dominator, Foxy, Skullcracker, all of those style of builds, Stickman, those kind of things. A few of Stickman's boxes this way. But Dominator and Foxy for sure. They had their own lengths of coax, right? So the X-Force Carl built, Dave made, Fat Boy, whatever. Those coax lengths will not work with this style of box. You'll end up having high input reflect and the output is going to be way down, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. So when you're trying to compare the two, you can't. You just can't. Now this is a little different. Holy cow, this is way different. Look at this. Oh, there's parts rolling around on the inside. That's always a good sign. Wow, look at all those fans. Oh, I can't wait to see what this does. But, Dominator 3K. Here, let's get this centered up. Yeah, so let's take a look for on the inside here. So guys would start adding fans to their Dominator, Skullcracker, Foxy built style of boxes because the boxes would get really, really hot. Of course, every Seabeer thinks heat equals more fan. Well, so let's say you've got one high CFM flow fan, and then in this case we got 3, 4 smaller CFM flow fans. This fan might overcome these fans' abilities to push air through the cabinet, and air being like water, it's going to take the path of least resistance out of the cabinet. Might end up flowing up here, so this could cause a problem, but ooh boy. Ooh boy. Ooh boy. Yeah, so this is the key circuit. Don't look too bad. So here, let me explain to you why the coax links have to be different. This is an age-old question. You cannot take the Carl built X-Force Dave made style amp coax links and run it with one of these style of boxes, one of these builds. It's because there's coax on the inside of the box. So if coax, it runs from here to here, right? Well, this is our output side. All right, here's our input. We got coax from here, runs around and goes over to here. So because this extra 2.5 foot of coax, and on some of the bigger stuff like the 32s and a few 64s that were built, I mean, you might have 393 in there that's like 4 foot long. Well, as far as the linear is concerned, it's done doing its thing right here. Done. And so, you know, the Carl X-Force, Dave Made style, my way, other people's way of building, we put the relay right next to the coax connector, and then we tune to the relay connection, and then this is where we start measuring our coax length. So what you're asking me for is almost physically impossible, is what I'm getting at. I mean, we can go through this. There might be some tuning issues. We might have a doorknob that's gone bad. We might have had, I mean, there might be some other issues here at hand. We're going to go through the box. But to make it so that it's direct hot swappable with your Dave Made Carl built box, nah. You'll find that this amplifier is going to be more lean towards having about 12.5 feet or 12 feet worth of coax from the back of the amp. Or it's going to cycle out again, and then it's going to be, let's see, 12, and then it'll show up again at 20, like 24, 28 feet. And the same thing with the input coax. You're going to need relatively shorter lengths, probably around 12 feet again, to get this to work. Because that's the way this entire design was based around having coax inside the box, and that's just the way it is. Short of pulling all the transistors out, junking this perfectly good box, and rebuilding you a new amplifier that is built in the same style and configuration as your paperwork puts it, Dave Made Carl built X-Force Fat Boy. Instead of have to build the box that same style to make that electrically work in the mobile. So, but it's not all that bad. Believe me when I tell you, you never know what you're going to get when you open one of these guys. This was made in the 90s-ish, right? This might have been made a little bit later. I'm not familiar with this cabinet style being associated with Dominator. Of course, I haven't seen a whole lot of Dominators out here. I've seen quite a lot of Skullcrackers, the fact that I live in the Northwest. But, yeah, relatively clean for what it is. I want to hook it up. Let's run it. Let's see what we get. So in all fairness, I put the lid back on with just a couple screws. This will strip out like that. So you gotta be really careful. Okay, so we got it hooked up. Got hooked up to the bench power supply where it like roughly 12 volts on the button. First thing I want to check is the fans. And in all due fairness, let's say that maybe I've experienced this same problem before. On the back side of the amp, we will take note that down here there are just little grooves, which is better than normal. The normal situation for a Dominator style box like this is they drill some holes across the back and then call it a day. And that worked good for a lot of years. We've just found there's really better ways to do things today. That's why we just have a complete slot for stuff. But what happens is there's too much drag of the air going down, so that air comes in through the fan, goes across the components, goes to the edge of the cabinet, makes a 90-degree turn, then makes another 90-degree turn, and then it's got all the drag, what I like to call back pressure. You know, it's not really the right term. There's a lot of surface tension drag that takes place as the air moves across the fins, the heatsink fins. And then with the slotted ports on the back, we have even more drag that now the air's got to bounce around and trying to find a way out. Well, you can blow air in here as much as you want, and until you increase the space in front of the heatsink, you're not going to see that much air pressure unless you go to something like a blower, which is designed to have a back pressure, a resistance to its airflow installed. 120 millimeter fans, not so much designed to have back pressure upon them. So what we'll do is we'll take a nice big old vape hit and we'll blow it towards the top of this big fan, and if we see it bubble out of any of these these fans here, then we know that we're losing pressure. We're not going to change this design. I'm just trying to point out the flaw. That the idea is great. We'll add more fan. More fan. More fan means more, right? More means more? Not necessarily. I mean, look at the ball bearing difference between the center fan and these little small fans. We're still spinning. All right. Yeah, it's blowing right up out of those fans. So, I mean, we still got significant airflow coming out the back. It's just questioning how much this is adding to it. No, it doesn't matter. It's tomato. Okay, so we've got our 1000 watt slug in place over here. Let's first turn the amplifier off. Audio. And at 12 volts, we're gonna see roughly 80 watts of drive. Hello, 1, 2. Now this tuner on the side of the amp is for your input tune. Hello, 1, 2. Okay. This is for your input tune here. It's a very common mistake that people make. Oh no, we adjust that till we get our maximum output. No, it has nothing to do with the output. It's your input tune. So, hello. Doesn't do squat. Okay. We are looking at these 2 meters. We're looking at the front of the striker and then the bird. So let's throw our dead key into it. Striker very unhappy. That's knob all the way to the right. Knob all the way to the left. Doesn't matter where I turn that knob, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything over here either. So, now in all fairness, these boxes were pretty much designed to be volted, right? Doesn't do anything. Let's turn our volts up. We'll get up there about 15.5 volts. There we go. Wow, look at how many more watts it's putting out. I'm a genius. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, right. So we're up to 2x. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Moving that knob still doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything at all. So we'll have to see how that's hooked up, or if it is even hooked up. 1, 2. Input tune is still way pissed off. Output tune is what it is. Remember, this is designed to have a different length of coax attached to it. So, let me go over here real quick. And let's grab that. Let's grab one of these. Those are what we commonly refer to as barrel connectors, right? So now, let's add 6 feet to our coax length and see what happens. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. So it made it worse. Now, in the same equation, let's grab another 6 feet of coax. We're going to ignore how this is all wrapped together, because I know that's not right, but still, we're just what we're going to do. Ado, adio, 1, 2, 1, 2. That helped quite a bit. Ado. Now we're down to a 1.3 input SWR. So a lot of this has to do with length of coax, a lot. But we're going to try and massage this a little bit. We're going to try. For funsies. Just for funsies. And making our pants smile. Oh, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's a little bit better, but not much. A little bit better, but not much. Okay, well, we've now proven the fans work. We've proven that coax length is determinate, and yeah, let's go play on the inside. Now, this helps me understand a lot. This is not even hooked up, which I should have caught when I was looking at the inside of the cabinet earlier. The other thing is it's kind of screwed up. You could see why they would want to disconnect it. Someone's also been so kind as to rip these fins out. So now, if I'm like a ninja, I can reach in here and very carefully straighten those out. That's so bent. Let me spend some time working on this. I got to get these fins straightened out. Okay, so I got the fin situation all figured out. Reattached the tuner. There is a 100 puff fixed value doorknob that's in here on the input tune, and we're going to change that. So we have this disconnected, and we're going to use just the variable for our input tune. Let's come over here. Let's pan up here. Let's get both watt meters, or both meters, in the equation. Now, not that I'm a big fan of using the striker meter on the front of the radio as a reliable SWR bridge. I put my faith in that bird watt meter any day of the week, and twice on Sunday and 3 times on Tuesday when Aunt Belle's got her dress up. With no bloomers on. And we all see that she hasn't shaved since the 70s. Above the knee, that is, specifically. This is Aunt Belle with her dress above her head and hasn't shaved since the 70s. That's what we call a Playboy penthouse giggity giggity. Okay, so if you can remember, this is about where we were at before. It was about a 3 input SWR, right? So let's turn our dead key down here to about a watt and we'll readjust. So we've only got 1 watt going out, but then we've got 3/4 of a watt coming back. So then I can start turning the variable. And that clicking noise that you're hearing is because the input resonance of the circuit is falling out of resonance with the keying transistor is able to get for RF coming in. So it's losing its ability to sniff because there's so much RF ping-ponging back and forth. So we'll readjust. That's 3/10 of a watt. Now watch what happens when we just turn our dead key up a little bit. And we readjust. Down goes our input SWR. So then we drive this. Hello. See that? Now, we'll come over here and we'll look at our output meter. And we were hitting right on the 60, which is about 1200 watts before. Nothing else has changed. Voltage hasn't changed, drive hasn't changed. Hello, 1, 2. Now we're not going to get this dialed in perfect because our coax links aren't right, but hello, wow, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Back up here, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hello, hello, hello. But under a dead key, we'll see that our input reflect climbs again. So we'll show it to you up here on the bird meter. But then, hello, it drops down to almost 0. Hello, 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 hello. We're still waiting on this meter. Hello, 1.2. That tells me there's not enough inductor down here, between here, actually specifically here, and then this splitter right here. Now, this box is getting hot, and there's something right in here that's out of balance. We got to go hunt down yet. But the point is with this input variable in play, now the input SWR is tunable. And remember, these things were designed to be volted, so I mean, with all due respect, the design is not all that efficient. The people that built them know that now, right? But at the time, this was the best that we had, right? So, you know, they really wanted the boxes to perform. Most of these guys were running around on 18-volt systems, charging at 22, batteries set up for 18, and they would, you know, if they were running on the 2-pill or the 8-pill, they would shut the alternators off and they'd just run on the capacity of the batteries. Now, if you're going to run like a 16-pill or a 32 or a 64, then you'd turn your alternators on. But you'd only have a couple hundred amps worth of alternator just to charge the batteries, and you're 100% running on the storage capacity, the capacity of the batteries. Translation is most of the time this box would see 16 plus volts, along with Skullcracker and those kind of things. So they were designed to be a little bit, well, driven. Man, this thing is warm. It's starving to death because of our crossover bar. This is too small. This is a solid piece of Romex. We'll fix that. And yeah, these cables, this piece of 4-aught, no way it's carrying enough current into these amps. And 175 amp Anderson clip, no way is this carrying enough current. There is no way that this little Anderson clip, which is getting hot, this is a giant resistor on your positive and your negative going to this amp, right? So let's see, what is a 16 pill? Well, it's 400 amps. How do we know that? Each transistor roughly pulls 25 amps, and we times it by 16. That's 400 amps worth of draw. 178 amp Anderson clip. This is just, I had a guy say this to me yesterday. I hate them goddamn Anderson clips. It's like spooning with your wife at night. You're not getting a good contact. There's no penetration going on. And I'm with you. It's the same gentleman that sent me these beautiful things. I've never seen these before. These things are cute. I love connectors. Anybody that knows me knows I love connectors. These are 100 amp Anderson clips. Or not, pardon me, welding. Twist lock welding lugs. Now you got penetration. I gotta do a video on these. I freaking love these. So you have a male and a female, of course, and this goes in there. You take your 4 gauge or whatever, run it through this. I guess this would handle up to 1-aught, but these are only rated for 100 amps. So you have a male and a female, and they go together. little things. Isn't that cute? So its bigger brother looks like this. Let me grab one of these as well. So let's see, what does this say on it? I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing, because if not, people are going to go, chitty. This is the 100, so this is 100. Here. This is 100 in this configuration. That's 100. That's its bigger brother at 180. And this is this will handle up to 4 gauge, so this is 400 to 500 amps. This one there, and they make them even bigger than that. But that little guy is cute. It makes me smile. It gives me a happy place inside. This would be perfect for like your 4-pill striker radios, your high power radios and whatnot. This would be perfect because those little Anderson clips they put on those radios, suck 'em the fat wad. I think it's time I get you guys up to speed to where I'm at with things. So, done a couple upgrades. We fixed the pass-through tune, so now you can actually talk through the box without a high SWR. I brought my 4-pill driver into the equation, and we're using the Bench 2950, and we're running that into the 16-pill. We're getting about 3,200 watts out of the 16-pill. We're right at 15.8 volts. We've got something going on up here in this front section. So, I'm waiting for the FLIR to boot up. It looks like it just did. So we've got a cap or something that's going bad in these two sections. Let me show you what I mean. So, I back the camera up a little bit. You guys are watching this in true 4K, you'll be able to see this easier. We don't have any air on anything, right? Obviously. So we're going to run this with, we're on a 5x scale, by the way, so reading that bottom scale, 30, blah, 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 you get it. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We're going to put about 800 peak into this thing. That's really about all it's going to need to get to where it needs to go. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, audio, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, audio, 1, 2. So our little balance resistor is getting up to 300, 400 degrees. This cap is ice cold, this one is screaming hot. So we've got an imbalance. It smells like a cigarette smoker for some reason. So we've got a section out of this 4-pill section. One of the 2 pills is starting to, one of the caps I think has gone into imbalance. I hope that's it, because if it's not, that means you're going to spend a lot of time looking for, because I've dug a couple pieces of loose wire and little bits of solder and that kind of thing out of here. But, I mean, at the end of the day, thing's working, right? It's straight up working at 3,500 watts. So, oh, and I upgraded power wires, of course. And it had this single piece of 12 gauge Romex in here to carry the 200 amps from this side of the board to that side of the board. And what we replaced it with was 10 gauge or 12 gauge high strand count silver plated silicone based wire. This will easily carry, and then we put a couple more, we put more jumpers in here obviously. So this will easily carry the amount of current, and obviously so it's working. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But I think one of these 2 caps, or maybe the input cap on the input sections, has gone devalued. This has got 680s in it. So we're going to unplug our newly installed 1/0 gauge wire. This is 1/0. And in theory, this will easily carry the 400 amp current into the box. in theory, because of the gauge of the wire and, you know, rules and reasons and electrical theorem and shit. That's why. So even the builders knew back in the day that this wasn't a high enough kV capacitor, this little guy. These caps take a bucket of pressure, like a bucket of pressure, electrical pressure, that is. So this is supposed to be a 680. Of course, this is plus or minus supposedly 5%. Well, it's actually technically out of tolerance at 700, but here's our problem. And when it gets hot, I can almost guarantee this cap even loses more of its value. Which makes me bring myself into the position of maybe I should go through and check all the caps inside the cabinet instead of just fixing the one that has actually failed this time. Yeah, we've been running it the whole time with one 2-pill section out of phase. Or not out of phase, but not putting out enough, out of balance with everything else. So we're going to take this 680 that reads 16 picofarads, and we're going to set it over here out of the way. And I think what I'm going to do is go through and check all these other caps, because they are notoriously famous for failing. And we could have ones that aren't completely dead like that one over there, but are really low. It's here, we might as well, right? I should probably document this, because this is the difference between $10 worth of parts and several $100 worth of parts. So this cap reads 464. It's out of value. $690. That's close enough. $670, close enough. $710, close enough. I tried reading these in the amp and they just weren't. $680, close enough. $678, close enough. Okay. So we had two that were way out of spec. No, my meter isn't screwed up. I leave the protective covering on everything, and it got the little... Fine. I buy a new one every year, so here we go. Oh yeah, good stuff. Okay. See, not messed up. We're fine. Yeah. Need two 680s. Now how we overcome this and make sure that this never happens again is we replace these with metal clad capacitors. Metal clads are getting really hard to find since they're only being produced by one company in the entire world, and it's not here in America. So we've come up with a workaround, but it's $10 per transformer. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80, right? And plus my time, so it'd be an extra $100 to this guy's bill, $130 to this guy's bill, but we can make it so this will never fail again. So let me call my customer and see what he wants to do. So the customer decided he wanted to venture down and spend the money, so we went ahead and we replaced all the caps with handmade 700 puff, which is only 20 puff more, picofarad, by the way, puff, slang term. Wanted to go ahead and get the upgraded on the caps. So we went ahead and we did that, and just took most of the afternoon. It's all good. I'd rather see it take a little bit of my time than the customer get frustrated because the thing let all the smoke out, is what it is. So you'll notice that here I added a couple nanofarads, and over here I added a couple nanofarads worth of capacitors on the positive rail going to ground. What was in there was some very, very, very low ESR capacitors that somebody else has added. We took out two of these. This one here is rated to 30 volts, and it's 3800 UF. And this one here will only hold a charge to 18 volts, and it's less than 1000 UF. So it's these two caps have basically come to the end of their useful life. And so I went ahead and I replaced them with some stuff that'll actually knock the positive rail out of resonance. And we want to do that for, well, a couple different things. We want to keep the RF off the positive rail, and we want to keep the RF from trying to come up and out of the cabinet. So we did that. That's just a little upgrade, just something that has changed in the last 20 years when this design was put together. Now, what we're going to show you here is the exact same test. We have the same voltage, same setup, same amount of drive as what we had going on before. And we were maxed out, and with the box getting hot, and with smoke pouring out of the box, we were getting just a hair over 3,500 watts. So as we can all clearly see, it's a 1,000 watt element. And we're reading the bottom scale. So the 20, the 40, the 60, those are adding 2 zeros, obviously, because we're in a 1,000 watt position. First off, let me show you drive. We're pumping at about 800 or so. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. So let's take this down to 1x here real quick. Hello, 1, 2. Amazing how the clarity of things goes down as you go up. It is what it is. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's hit this real quick. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. Just a hair over 4,000 watts, which is exactly what we should expect out of this box. Remember, this amplifier likes to have higher voltage. So as I was explaining to the customer, back in the day, these guys would run off a big battery bank, 18 volt battery bank. And they'd have 2 little piss-ass alternators, and the key, they'd run right through the alternators and just run off the capacity of the batteries. So this is not quite as efficient as our current style of builds, but these boxes kick ass. I mean, kick ass. They're designed to be driven a little bit harder, and they're totally designed to be hit with higher voltage, for sure. This would probably do even more if we would isolate this out and go closer to 16, 17 volts. Just saying. So, well, gentlemen, my time with this Dominator has come to an end. There's nothing left here for me to work on, fix, modify, or make better. Just not. It's done. RO number 54 is in the notebooks. So now what I gotta go do is I gotta go fix a Dentron. It's gonna be probably a hunk of tomorrow. And then I got a monoband and SP220. So that's what's coming up next. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me the last month and a half. I know that I've been sick and the porn has been slow to be arriving. That changes as of this minute. We are back into the normal swing of things. So these guys down here that totally make this channel happen, give big thanks to them. Their names will be at the end of the video. Big shout out to Mechland, Siglet, Bird, Excess Power, Penna, Coaxial Dynamics. And as always, thank you, gentlemen. That's all of you out there in YouTuber land and in reality and radio. Thank you, gentlemen, for tuning in, following along, and keeping track of what we're doing. Big thank you, and a humble, humble thank you. I said, gentlemen, I will see you. Click, click.